I'm grateful to have the chance to say goodbye. I am proud of you all, my X-Men.
X-Men 97 Season 2 is coming a bit later than expected, but honestly, the wait is worth it. Just knowing it's coming back is exciting enough. The new episodes are already in the works, and we can't wait to see where the story goes next. In this video, we'll dive into all the details: release date, plot theories, confirmed voice cast, first look pics, and more. Season 1 really impressed, bringing that classic X-Men vibe with epic action, a gripping story, and an awesome soundtrack. While we don't have all the deets yet, the way Season 1 ended gives us some solid clues for where Season 2 might go, especially with all those comic-accurate teases. Marvel's Brad Winderbaum has confirmed Season 2 will drop in 2026, a little later than expected, but sometimes good things take time. But here's the thing. On Twitter, Bo DeMaio, the original creator, revealed that Season 2 hit a major snag after a pretty rough internal screening. So yeah, things might be a little shaky right now. Bo DeMaio was actually let go by Marvel before X-Men 97 Season 1 even dropped. Still, he had already laid out the foundation for Season 2. Now, he says most of that work isn't being used anymore. According to him, the new team behind the show has spent the past year doing rewrites and reshoots. DeMaio mentioned that only one episode is finalized so far, the Weapon X-focused one he had already planned before his exit. As of now, Marvel hasn't said anything publicly about his claims. After DeMaio was let go, X-Men 97 Season 1 dropped and absolutely crushed it with critics and fans alike. The response was so strong that the show got greenlit for both Seasons 2 and 3 right away. While it aired, DeMaio stayed pretty active on social media, giving fans some cool behind-the-scenes details about the plot and characters. He also mentioned that he'd left a full plan for Season 2 before his exit. But when news broke that Season 2 wouldn't arrive until 2026, it came with reports that DeMaio's scripts were being revised. Now, with DeMaio's latest comments, it sounds like Marvel and new head writer Matthew Chauncey didn't just tweak the scripts, he says they made major changes. Still, it's tough to know how much of that is accurate. Since DeMaio was out before Season 1 even aired, he hasn't been involved with what's gone down behind the scenes since March 2024. We'll probably get a clearer picture once Season 2 drops, especially if that Weapon X episode he mentioned actually shows up. In the last episode of X-Men 97, the UN launches its Magneto protocol, thinking they're doing something smart. Turns out, not so much. It backfires hard and nearly sends Asteroid M crashing into Earth. Thankfully, Professor X helps fix Magneto's mind and brings him back just in time to stop the disaster. The catch? It ends up flinging Magneto, Rogue, Storm, Xavier, Logan, Beast, and Nightcrawler all the way back to ancient Egypt around 3000 BC. Meanwhile, Jean and Scott land way in the future, like 3960 AD, with a teenage version of their son Nathan before he becomes Cable, and a woman named Mother Ascani, who comic fans will know is actually Rachel Summers, their long-lost daughter. Then we jump ahead 6 months. Forge is now the latest known X-Man still around. Jubilee, Sunspot, and Cable survive the finale's dramatic ending, but they're MIA. Bishop shows back up from the future and teams up with Forge to start rebuilding the team. The post-credits scene gets real ominous. We're back in present-day Genosha, and out of the rubble, a familiar playing card, Gambit's, gets picked up by none other than Apocalypse. And here's the twist. Earlier in the episode, Bishop says, "This ain't our first time at the X-Men Are Dead rodeo," and in ancient Egypt, someone introduces himself as En Sabanur, which, yep, is Apocalypse. For fans of the comics, that name means trouble, especially since Gambit eventually joins his group, the Four Horsemen. When it comes to what's next in Season 2, X-Men 97 supervising producer and head director Jake Castorina has had a pretty cheeky response when talking to Entertainment Weekly. About that post-credit scene, he joked, "Oh, did something happen with Gambit in the comics? Oh, that's cool." He also added that everything is meticulously planned, so clearly they've got a bigger picture in mind. During a panel, Lenore Zann, who voices Rogue, gave fans a bit of an update on where things stand with the series. She was there with fellow OG voice actors Chris Potter and Allison Court and talked about meeting the new writing team. She said, "I met Matt Chauncey, who's our new head writer and showrunner, and I've met a lot of the writers, well, all of them actually. It's great. And it's interesting because I wrote a memoir called A Rogue's Tale, which just came out in the fall, and he contacted me and said, I'd really like to give your book to each of the writers. So he gave it as Christmas presents to the writers. It was really sweet." Executive producer Brad Winderbaum teased that Season 2 will introduce some new superhero teams, saying, "There's many teams in Marvel that have the letter X followed by a hyphen. I would put it to you like this. There's 2 other X teams in Season 2. Season 2 will also pick up right where the Season 1 finale left off, and it looks like Gambit will make a return, though probably in a creepy zombie villain form. One of the storylines is expected to take inspiration from the 1994 comic miniseries The Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, which follows Scott and Jean in the future, along with Nathan, Mother Ascani, and Apocalypse. But the big question everyone's wondering is, which team will be introduced next? One team that could definitely show up in X-Men 97 Season 2 is X-Force. In the comics, X-Force is often portrayed as a spin-off of the X-Men, led by Cable. They're more of a vigilante group, taking on missions that the X-Men wouldn't touch, often disregarding laws and politics to do what they think is right. They sit somewhere between the X-Men, who plays by the rules, and the Brotherhood of Mutants, who often clash with humanity. For Season 2 of X-Men 97, X-Force could fit in perfectly. One of the big questions from Season 1 is what happens to the X-Men members who were scattered through time. In the present, we see Forge searching for mutants to carry on Xavier's legacy, but Cable is nowhere to be found. Season 2 could introduce Cable forming X-Force to fill that gap, working as vigilantes while the X-Men are missing. This shift could also tie into Cable's character arc. At the end of Season 1, Cable reconnects with Cyclops and Jean before they're lost in time, possibly dead. This could set him on a darker, more vengeful path, making him more like the anti-heroic X-Force leader than the traditional superhero we've seen before. The team could reflect that change in Cable while also delving into his backstory through his younger self with Clan Ascani. Another team that could make an appearance in X-Men 97 is Generation X. Similar to the potential storyline with Cable's X-Force, Generation X in the comics is a group of younger teenage mutants. Their goal was to train as the next generation of X-Men, but instead of focusing on battling supervillains like the older team, they mainly dealt with their own challenges. However, they did occasionally clash with villains like Juggernaut and Omega Red, the latter of whom made a cameo in Episode 8 of X-Men 97. Jubilee, one of the main characters in X-Men 97, was a key member of Generation X in the comics. Given that both Jubilee and Sunspot stayed in the present at the end of Season 1, it makes sense that they could have formed Generation X in the absence of the older X-Men. Both characters had strong arcs in Season 1, and it would be fitting for them to take on the role of carrying the X-Men's legacy forward. Plus, including Generation X would introduce even more young mutants, building on the hints dropped in the Season 1 finale about new team members. Generation X would also align well with the themes of X-Men 97, just like in X-Men the Animated Series, where Jubilee was a central character as the newest X-Man learning to fit in. X-Men 97 builds on this by giving her stronger powers and introducing Sunspot as the new X-Man. Now, by leading Generation X, both Jubilee and Sunspot's character arcs could come full circle as they transition from the youngest members of the X-Men to leaders of their own team. Another team that could fit into X-Men 97 is X-Factor. In the comics, X-Factor is an interesting spin-off from the X-Men, formed when some of the X-Men started to lose faith in Charles Xavier's vision. While they still fight alongside the X-Men, their approach is different. For example, X-Force poses as mutant hunters to secretly help mutants, showing a more covert, sometimes morally gray approach compared to the main X-Men team. In the final episodes of X-Men 97, we see several X-Men questioning Xavier's methods. Magneto, of course, stands out, but characters like Sunspot and Rogue also temporarily abandon Xavier to join Magneto's cause. Even Beast, typically one of Xavier's most loyal followers, begins to doubt his mentor's tactics. This sets up the possibility that some of the X-Men might form X-Factor, especially given the tensions and differing views among the team members. The post-credit scene in X-Men 97, where Apocalypse and his Horsemen are teased, also aligns with X-Factor's stories, as they often clashed with Apocalypse. Including X-Factor in X-Men 97 would open the door for some compelling storylines. It would explore the idea that Xavier isn't always right, which has always been a core part of Magneto's character. If this doubt spreads to Cyclops, Jean, and Beast, their characters would become much more complex. For instance, Jean and Scott's experiences in the future could deepen their distrust in Xavier's vision, and Beast's past interactions with Xavier could push him further toward forming X-Factor when the team reunites. Next up is the Exiles, a universe-hopping mutant team. While they might not be as likely to appear in X-Men 97 Season 2 as some other X teams, there's still a possibility. The Exiles are a group of mutants from alternate realities who travel across different universes, solving problems and fighting enemies wherever they go. Given the setup of Season 1, which had characters scattered through different points in time, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to see a version of the Exiles show up in Season 2. Since the first season ended with time travel and characters lost in different time periods, the Exiles could potentially come into play to help out the X-Men across those various timelines. The team is usually led by Blink, a character who was introduced in the Age of Apocalypse comic arc, so she could even tie into the main villain of X-Men 97 Season 2. While the Exiles never fought Apocalypse directly in the comics, adding them into the mix to do so wouldn't be a bad idea for the show. Lastly, we have the X-Patriots, a lesser-known Marvel Comics team that could get a bigger story in X-Men 97 Season 2. While they aren't as prominent as teams like X-Force or Generation X, their setup in the comics could translate well to the show. In the comics, the X-Patriots were born out of the Extinction Agenda storyline, where Genosha became unsafe for mutants after a cyborg named Cameron Hodge brainwashed mutants for exploitation. Following this, a group of mutants leaves Genosha and goes on a journey seeking refuge in various countries. After being rejected by many, they eventually end up in the US, where they're dubbed the X-Patriots by the media. Tensions rise during their stay in America, but eventually they're convinced Genosha is safe again for mutants, and they return. After this, the X-Patriots don't appear much in the comics, making their role relatively small in the Marvel Universe. However, with the X-Men 97 Mutant Massacre from Episode 5, where Genosha is attacked by giant sentinels, the X-Patriots could be given a bigger role in the show. The genocide caused by Bastion could make them feel unsafe returning to Genosha in X-Men 97, which would open up the door for a more significant storyline for the X-Patriots in the Marvel Animated Universe. Now, let's talk about casting. So far, 3 voice actors have confirmed that they began working on X-Men 97 Season 2 as early as February 2023. Still, it's safe to assume that most, if not all, of the voice actors from Season 1 will be returning, especially since the first season ended with most of the X-Men alive, albeit scattered through time. A notable point is the reveal of a young Nathan Summers, which raises questions about whether Chris Potter will return as Cable. It's unclear if he'll voice Cable as the adult version or if the younger Nathan will be played by someone else. Additionally, it seems likely that AJ Locascio may be returning as Gambit, especially since the Season 1 finale hinted that Apocalypse might try to revive the currently deceased X-Men hero and recruit him as one of his horsemen. Bishop might also get a bigger role in Season 2 and beyond of X-Men 97. Isaac Robinson Smith, who voices the character, recently shared his excitement about exploring Bishop's story more in the upcoming season. This could be great for both fans of the character and the show as a whole. As for casting changes, DeMaio mentioned that some veteran actors were replaced to bring more authenticity to the roles. For example, Jubilee is now voiced by Asian American actor Holly Chu. Also, Lawrence Bain, who originally voiced Nathan Summers/Cable in X-Men the Animated Series, confirmed his return for Season 2. However, he was replaced by Chris Potter in the original series, due to the need for different intonations to better reflect Cable's father-son relationship with Cyclops, as explained by Entertainment Weekly. Cyclops has truly been through the emotional ringer in X-Men 97 Season 1, and it's definitely time for him to get some good news in Season 2. In the original X-Men the Animated Series, Cyclops fought Havoc, also known as Alex Summers, his long-lost brother, without either realizing they were family. The fact that their powers cancel each other out during their battle adds to the complexity of their relationship, but it's a detail that was never fully explored at the time. Season 2 presents the perfect opportunity to address this, potentially having Cyclops and Havoc finally learn the truth about their sibling bond. This revelation could not only be a powerful moment for Cyclops, but also offer a new layer of depth to his character, especially after all he's been through. It would be a great emotional payoff and a way for him to get some much-needed healing amidst all the chaos he's endured. Marvel Animation showed off some footage for X-Men 97 Season 2 at August's D23 event, revealing that Havoc and his girlfriend, Lorna Dane, aka Polaris, will be making a return. Although they likely won't spend 12 years in the future like in the comic, they can at least find solace in knowing Nathan is doing well. And while technically Nathan's biological mother is Madeline Pryor, Jean Grey shares a deep motherly bond with him, making this reunion all the more meaningful. Well, that's it for today. What do you think? Are you excited about the potential new teams in X-Men 97 Season 2, like X-Force or Generation X? Or is there another team you'd love to see take center stage? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, because we'll be covering more updates on this soon, and other exciting upcoming movies and series. We'll see you next time.